Hello, my Nerdy Nawg-Dawgs. Today we're talking about rounding. And if you recall, there's a little phrase I like to use when we're talking about rounding. It's one of those brain-based connection links. So if you hang on to it, I promise it'll help you when you're testing. So here's what I like to say. I say 0 to 4 stays on the floor. 5 to 9 climbs the vine. So hang on to that little phrase. It might help you. So if you were asked to round to the nearest hundred, the first thing you would need to do is identify the digit that's in the hundreds place. In this case, it's the 6. The 6 we would call our target number. That is what is going to be rounded to that column. Now, to round that digit, we're going to ask his neighbor. We're going to look to his buddy on the right-hand side. And if his buddy is 0 to 4, then our target number stays on the floor. If it's 5 to 9, he climbs the vine. In this case, the buddy, the yellow arrow buddy, is 5 to 9, which means that 6 has to climb the vine. He's going to go up by 1 digit. When we get to our number line, you'll see why that is and how that makes sense. So 3,657 rounds up to 3,700. Let's try one more. If I had 1,207 and I am rounding to the nearest hundred, my 2 is in the hundreds column. So that becomes our target number. Again, we're going to look to the right. Now, all the digits on the left of the target will stay the same. They always stay the same because we are only rounding to that target column. And in this case, it's the 2 digit. And we're going to look to the right to tell that 2 what to do. In this case, it's 0 to 4. And so that 2 is going to stay on the floor, meaning he does not change. So 1,207 rounds down, we might say. It actually kind of stays on the ground to 1,200. Okay, and what that is basically saying is that 1,207 is closer to 1,200 than it is if it were to round up to 1,300. So let's kind of look at that on a number line. If we were asked to round this number to the 10,000s place, let's see, to the 10,000s place. Let me show you my other screen here. There we go. If I wanted to round this to the 10,000s place, I would find my target number in the 10,000s column, and that would be this digit, the 4. That means that everything to his left stays the same, and I can even rewrite that down below. That's going to, well, we don't know that that's going to stay the same, but to his left stays the same. And what's questionable is what's to its right. So then we look at his buddy, and his buddy is a 5 to 9. So he's going to tell this target number, hey man, climb the vine. That means that that 4 becomes a 5. He goes up by 1 digit. That 1 stays the same. But then everything to his right is going to 0 off. Okay, so what does that mean on a number line? And why even bother with a number line? I'll tell you, the reason they want us to use a number line is then we can start to envision it in our head and we don't even need to write anything down. Let me show you why. If I were going to round to the nearest 10,000s, that means I'm either rounding down to 140,000, because again, this is the target column, or I'm rounding up to 150,000. Okay, so then the next question becomes, to make this a visual thing, is what's halfway between 140,000 and 150,000? Well, 145,000, of course. So then if we can envision all that in our head, we can look at a number and say, well, is 145,233 closer to 140,000 or closer to 150,000? Well, the minute it goes past the halfway mark, And 145,233 is just a hair past halfway, right? Because it's 145,233. It is closer to 150 than it is to go backwards to 140. So that is the reason for the number line. It really comes in handy, and it's a good visual when we're trying to do mental math or math in our head. So let's look at a number line again, because I think it gives us valuable insight here. So here we go. And my presentation's taking just a moment. Okay, so on a number line, if I had something like 748, right? If it doesn't tell you specifically what to round to, you always round to the highest place column. In this case, it says the hundreds, which is indeed the highest place column. So our target number then becomes the 7 for 700. So if I were going to round down to hundreds, I either have 700 or I can round up to 800. Those are my two options for a number line, right? I'm either going to round, if I have to round to hundreds, it means everything else zeroes out. So I'm either going to round down to 700 or round up to 800. Then my next step is to go, what's halfway? Halfway between 700 and 800 is 750. So my question then is 748 past the halfway mark and closer to 800, or less than halfway and closer to 700? And in this case, it's less than halfway. And if we were to go to his buddy, right, and look at his buddy next to the target number, he's a 4. 0 to 4 stays on the floor. That means everything to the right zeroes out. We stay with 700. We don't climb up to 800. And that's why a number line is so handy with rounding. It's definitely a great visual for doing mental math. Okay, that's the long and the short of rounding. Thanks, guys. Good luck.